we're at the King County Fair, which is where we're going to see Sarah Carson, who has her super collies. This is going to be a really fun one because she's doing an actual live show that we're going to be able to watch, and then we'll be able to speak with her as well.
Fun factoid.
Hi guys, and welcome to our Pilgrimage post-game show for episodes 2 and 3. We're here with Lane from Woof Gang Bakery. She is our pilgrimage guide, and she's going to answer all of these questions that we have that came up from these episodes, from these activities. Some of the ones that you guys have asked us, we're going to have those answered today. So hi Lane, nice to have you on again.
I'm so happy to be here with you guys again. Gonna round up, do some fun discussion about all things dogs and, hopefully give a little insight.
Perfect. So the first question that we have, so you know that we had Moxie, was our German Shepherd. She would eat anything that was meat, but only meat.
That was a good way to kind of to throw it. Anything, as long as it's only meat.
It's true. Beef jerky, raw meat, anything like that. That's what she loved. Anything else, she would just turn her big snout up at. So she did not want to eat it. So the question that I had, now we've got this new puppy, Whimsy. The difference between when I'm looking at the store and I'm going in there, natural treats versus processed treats. We're doing a lot of training. A lot of these people who are doing the wilderness air scent and the stunt dog work and in the Newfoundlanders, everybody had treats because you're doing these activities. A lot of dogs are treat motivated. But I wasn't sure, what really is the difference? Is it okay if I give processed treats to my dog, or what do you recommend?
So when you're training, you typically use a high volume of small treats in order to, give that reward, connect the positive thing being the treat to the action that you want them to complete. And so if you're giving them a ton of processed treats, it's kind of like feeding them a bag of chips, and it's hard for their bodies to kind of break down those different ingredients. And you're kind of just filling their bodies with preservatives or, those filler ingredients that we can see. And by replacing those treats with natural treats or limited ingredient, one ingredient treats, they're getting better ingredients in their body and their body can digest it better. And it avoids those, empty excess calories. We kind of talked in the last episode about how easy it is for dogs to become obese. So it's just really important to keep an eye on those types of ingredients. I actually have here with us a bag of our oven baked treats. These are the cinnamon oatmeal little bites. And we're actually redoing the packaging, so look out for that. And you can see on the back, we have this list of ingredients.
You can also see on your screen Lane's stellar nails.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
I got some looking, I got to represent the pink. It's obviously my favorite color. And so you can see on the back of the treats, we have this ingredient list here. And you can see that it's a fairly small list of ingredients. And it also features ingredients that you recognize. There's honey, there's oats, there's cinnamon. So all of these ingredients are things that we see when we eat. And, if you are looking at a label of a bag of treats and there's a bunch of ingredients you don't understand, you probably don't want to put it in your dog's body. Again, it's not like the end of the world. It's more just like you're feeding them junk. It's like going to McDonald's or, going through the Wendy's drive-thru and getting a Frosty. There are also treats I mentioned. There's single ingredient treats. These are chicken chips. They are so dogs go wild over these. They really do. And you can see and you can see on the label that there's only one ingredient, chicken breast. So that's a great place to start too. If you're unsure and you just want something no fuss, you can go with something that is single ingredient. This packaging is also being redone, but I digress. So treats also should only really account for 10% of your dog's daily caloric intake. So it's important that you make your treats as small as possible. I have a treat right here, for example, and they're very crumbly. So you can kind of just, make them into little tiny pieces and then same thing. You just give a little bit to the dog, and that takes, a 16-calorie treat, and you spread it out.
That's a great idea. Like breaking them off. Like that's something that we used to do for Moxie as well. And then you can put them in our little treat pouch, and then you can just give her a little piece at a time.
Yeah, and then I also noticed in the video that Sarah mentioned that she uses like toys and frisbees. So you can also kind of substitute treats for if your dog has a toy they really love, or if an activity like frisbee, then you just replace the treat with the toy, and that also is good for trainer dog bonding. Give them a little tug game. They love that. So you can also kind of substitute if you don't want to use treats, you can use something like that, which is also a nice little hack.
And so a dog that I guess that's sort of like whimsy is, I've had to really actually look to see the ingredients to see what we're actually giving her, because she will eat anything. So I want to make sure that I'm not just giving her the junk food stuff, and I am giving her quality, because she's willing to eat it, and that's different than Moxie was.
Yeah, it's interesting. Moxie sort of had a filter.
Yeah.
She sort of like now she just kind of turn her snout up at it and be like, I don't want this. Now, sometimes that filter would fail her because it was like a carrot or something simple and healthy.
You can also try fruits are more popular with dogs than the vegetables, like bananas, pumpkin, blueberries. My dog loves blueberries. I have like dog treat everywhere now. Oops. I
was having them for whimsy. They're like all at the bottom of my treat bag right now, so I just give her little crumbs.
There's always like some shake at the bottom, and okay, that'll just go in the dog bowl.
Yeah. I'll have to call my coworker Morgan brings her dog every day, Kai. I'll have to call him here in after to do some like cleanup. Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
He's probably already got like wilderness air scent going on to know that treats are happening over there.
So a lot of the activities that we went to visit in episode 2 and 3, we were in really hot weather. Like it just happened to be a heat wave where we were. And so we were all hot. We were hot. I imagine the dogs looked hot. So I guess my question is, like, how well can a dog handle the heat? I guess I asked that also because of riding with dogs. We've got a lot of cockpit riders that are in the South, in the States, and in all places where it is really hot. And they're concerned about that too, about having the dog on the back of the bike. And is it going to be too hot for them? What can they do to cool their dog down on a really hot day? We obviously sell the sun shield that reflects the heat from the dog, so then it's not just penetrating right onto their fur. But what do you suggest in terms of heat, and how well can they handle it?
Yeah, so dogs can kind of struggle in hot weather because they don't regulate their body temperature as well as humans do. So they sweat through their paws and through their tongue, through panting, which helps them regulate, but it's not as good of a system as humans have with sweating. So you just definitely, it's crucial to monitor your dog when it's hot. You look for signs of heat related stress. So heavy panting, excessive drooling, weakness, they're kind of like stumbling around. Dry gums or like discolored gums is a good sign to look for too. But they primarily cool down through panting and through their paws. So you just want to keep an eye on it. We top our dog's food off with water during the summer just to give off a little bit more hydration. So she eats the food while she's drinking the water. It also slows down her eating too, so she's not just gobbling it up. But if you could just add an extra cup of water to your dog's food, that could definitely help for a little extra hydration. And there are other hydrators too. You could use bone broth. You want to kind of avoid strenuous exercise during the hottest parts of the day. So you don't want to take your dog for a hike in the middle of the day, in the middle of the summer. You definitely want to wait either earlier in the morning when the sun's not quite risen yet, or later in the afternoon when the temperatures have kind of settled down a little bit. You can also like create shaded areas for your dog. We have a bed that has like a little tent over it for our backyard, kind of gives her a little reprieve from the heat if she wants to go hang out over there. There's also some new cooling products that people have been using, cooling mats, cooling vests, cooling towels, even if you're in a pinch and you just need to like cool your dog down.
Those are great tips. And it's such an important topic. I mean, again, we're kind of thinking from the sort of motorcycle dog niche, but we get asked
Yeah.
that a lot about, what do you do to protect your dog from the elements, right? From extreme weather. And generally what we found is people were thinking about rain and cold when they would say the elements. But, we kind of realized, well, wait a second, you're spending most of your time riding and having outdoor activities with your dog in good weather, in really hot weather.
Yeah.
And plus, you can get caught in traffic jams and things like that. And the whole thing of a motorcycle and the cockpit is airflow, right? That's what's helping cool everything
even our
down.
own jackets, everything is mesh, right? So that you can have airflow.
So thinking about the heat is just and sunlight is essential.
Yeah, we did use a cooling mat with Moxie in the past. We had a cooling vest at one point. What we saw in, which we'll see in a later episode, are cooling scarves that they put on the dogs. That you can just put them in water and then put them on the neck to help cool them down. And another thing that we'll probably see later on is I was told that if you wet the dog's paws, that can help cool them down too. Because like you said, I guess if they sweat through their paws, and if their paws end up being a little bit cooler, it can help cool their temperature down.
Yeah, for sure. And you can also, you can get doggy sunscreen for those hotter months. I would also suggest planning your motorcycle route schedule during the earlier time of the day or later in the afternoon instead of trying to hit it right in the middle of the day if possible.
Yes, and actually on that, whether it's a motorcycle route or any kind of, outing with your dog, really, I mean, the best break activity, rest stop activity that we found is sort of finding a river or stream along the way, because you all can go for a dip, and then, it never fails. Then the dog can take a little nap after they've cooled down. It brings the temperature down for everyone.
The Newfoundlanders that are out there on the boats, and their goal is to leap in and rescue somebody. It was really cool to see that.
The coolest thing.
I think that was that was probably my favorite activity. I think I'm allowed to have a favorite, so this one was my favorite.
I'm so bummed that I missed it.
I was like, oh, it's so cool.
So I was thinking about it motion sickness for dogs.
Now wait, is it fair to say we're talking about the Noofs? I mean, I wasn't there, alas, but I was editing the footage. And I mean, was it the most efficient way to be saved if you're drowning? Did it give me a lot of confidence that I wanted Jordan to leap in? It looked like a blast and so much fun. So much fun. Yeah. But would I trade Jordan for Hasselhoff from Baywatch or Pamela Anderson or whoever the other ones were? I don't know.
Okay, there was a lot of distractions. They were still training. It was not.
They were in training. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So you got to give them a break.
Okay.
Anyhow, so motion sickness. So I wondered about that, getting so for the boats of the dogs, being on the boats. Moxie, she definitely had at the beginning when she was a pup. The very first time that we got her, we picked her up from somebody across the lake, and so we had to bring her back on a little boat. Probably there were 16 people on the boat sized.
It's like a clown car in a boat, basically.
Somehow.
That people pouring anyway.
But so we brought little Moxie on there, and she vomited. She definitely had a bit of that the first few times, and there were a couple times when we were riding up and down and a lot of twisties too that she vomited. But she sort of grew out of it or got used to it. But what are those things what can you do to prevent motion sickness for dogs? Be it on a boat, a motorcycle,
car,
you name it. Yeah, car.
Yeah, so you can only really manage it with gradual desensitization and conditioning. For example, you run into the situation where you kind of have to get on a boat, so you can't really prevent that situation from happening. But if you know that your dog is going to be in the car a lot or on a boat or motorcycle, you definitely want to do that gradual desensitization process that we've kind of talked about. So, you want to start with the vehicle while it's stopped, have the dog, interact with the vehicle, introduce it to them. If it's a boat specifically, maybe have them get on the boat at a dock where it's not actually moving, kind of give them that gradual experience while you're rewarding them with treats. So they know they associate the boat with the treat, reward. And then you gradually increase the duration. If we're specifically talking about a car, I would also strongly suggest crating your dog in your car for the first couple experiences, especially if you're picking up a puppy. You want them to have that first good experience in a car, because if they don't, it can kind of set you up for failure throughout the rest of their life. So you just want to have that first experience be super positive. You can also do little things like avoiding feeding your dog, like right before they start this training or before they go on a boat. You can also use, they have special car seats for cars. We have like a dog hammock. I'm sure there's a boat equivalent. And then, you want to, if you're in a car, again, keep the windows open, that airflow that you guys kind of talked about. If you're on a boat, that's not really a problem, but just make sure that they're have access to air around them. Maybe don't have them in a cabin where they can't really see what's going on around them. And you can always consider anti-nausea medicine if it gets to that level, but you will have to consult your vet about that. But there's little things you can do. You just have to build up to it. We talk about starting small, kind of going through the process. Maybe you get on the boat and you turn on the boat. You can let the dog get used to it. Maybe then you go out the marina, back, and then you can kind of build up to those longer trips. As I'm sure you guys also train with the motorcycle.
I was thinking that as you said that. Yeah, a lot of these things that we talk about, it is about like desensitization and treating and getting them used to it and taking it slowly. We're definitely learning that again with little Whimsy of introducing her to a bunch of new things, trying to do it slowly. It's not always possible for us in our lifestyle, but we know the correct way you should do it.
I'm smirking because doing things slowly and over time and step by step has not always been a go roughly approach to things.
We're sort of a leap right in, ow.
It's really my approach either. I'm not a patient person, but for our dogs, we gotta take it back a notch.
Potentially for the bike, and then certainly for like smaller, motorboats, is the fumes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because the dogs being so sensitive, in an olfactory sense, with their schnoz, as you've beautifully put it in the past, right? Yeah. That can be a big cause of it.
So in episode 3, I got to see the Noofs alone. Because Greg had to go back down to Los Angeles because puppy Whimsy was having diarrhea. So she was staying with Greg's dad, and he was watching out for her while we had gone up to Seattle to do the events there and then come down. And we know that with puppies, diarrhea can be an issue, especially when they're not fully vaccinated. And so we were concerned about it. And unfortunately, Greg's dad was also not feeling so well either. And so it was just sort of the culmination of having both of them not doing well and sort of needing a savior to come down and help out with Whimsy. So when is diarrhea so dangerous that you should take them to a vet, or what should we be looking for?
Yeah, so with puppies, it's kind of common for them to get diarrhea. As they're getting exposed to new foods, new experiences. They could be nervous. There's a lot of different reasons, and you just obviously have to keep an eye on it. I would say the first warning sign would be blood, which sounds really gross, but we're dog people, so we're all acclimated to giving our dogs poop a little look. I've definitely had to dissect some before. But so blood, I would say, is definitely the most contrasting sign. You also kind of want to check for things not only in their poop. You can look to see if they're vomiting, if they're dehydrated, those dry, colorless gums. And you kind of want to give it a day or two, like up to 48 hours. If it persists after that, you probably want to consult a medical professional. You can also switch them to kind of like a chicken or rice, pumpkin food to kind of help firm the stool up. And if you're trying that for a couple days and you don't see results, or you end up running into like the blood or vomiting situation, that is kind of the point where you're like, okay, I got to go to a vet and we need to get this checked out.
Well, it sounds like we sort of like put your dad in the right direction.
Well,
So-
he gave some rice.
Yes.
and-
Well, yeah, we told him to give her some rice.
Are you taking credit for that? Because I feel like he
No,
came up with that.
I said to do that. Well, I said to do that.
Jury's out.
So the rice we said to do, make sure that she had water, make sure that she was drinking. And then it was like 48 hours and it still had loose stools. So then we did say, well, bring her to someone. And so we brought her to the vet, and it turned out like she didn't have necessarily anything, but they did give her an antibiotic and something to help settle her stomach. And that solved it. And what we figure it is, Gregory, what?
Well, meanwhile, I am being defamed this whole time because my dad has a little pond in his backyard that he's made, and it's wonderful with a few little koi that are running, swimming around, and it's got all the schmutz that is.
See where this is going.
And I had her drinking from there because I want to build her system and so forth.
Just like Moxie, because Moxie drank out of our pond in Guatemala, so Greg wanted to do the same thing here.
Well, and not
with our 10-week-old puppy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, is it ever too soon? I think I'm vindicated in the fact that she didn't have any little amoebas or anything, but yeah.
But what we realized, though, it probably was the stress of it all. The stress of us not being there. We had been with her, and then we left her, and we left her with Greg's dad. But, like, she had bonded with Greg's dad, too, so there was some of that.
But he was under the weather,
but
so
he was not feeling
fairly
well, too.
inaccessible, and a dog. This is a fairly, sort of latchy dog.
Yeah. So the question is, can all dogs swim? Like, is it something that they inherently know how to do, or do you have to train them? With Moxie, we did like lead her into the water and we went through a bit of a process with her. With Whimsy, it's sort of the same thing. So do they know how to swim? If you were to throw a new puppy in, would they be able to float and figure it out?
So most dogs have the natural instinct for swimming. You've seen videos probably of people holding their dogs like above the water where they do the little air paddle.
Yeah.
There's proof you can see that they have that natural instinct. However, some breeds are definitely more equipped to swim than others. As you saw, the Newfies, they have the webbed paws, and there are some other breeds similar that have the webbed feeding, labs, spaniels, poodles, and so these breeds are obviously better inclined to swim, and there are some breeds that just are not strong swimmers, and you should probably just be very cognizant when you're teaching them how to swim. These are like bulldogs, basset hounds, dogs with tiny legs, more dense breeds. And of course, you should never leave a dog unattended near the water. You want to start with your dog kind of near the water. You want to like splash them a little, show them that it's water, give them treats, give them rewarding for acting calm. Then you can move on to either, putting them in the shallow end or on the first step, giving them rewards as you're going. And you also kind of want to make sure it's calm water. Like if you're on a lake or in the ocean, you want to be careful to make sure there's no big waves or wakes or things like that. If you can start in a pool, that's probably your best bet. You can also get, we have for our dog a little life jacket, which is helpful too, especially if you're in bigger bodies of water, like lakes or oceans. But it's also good to have that just like backup on them just in case. Even if you're going to have your dog like in the backyard with a pool, it might be a good idea to just throw the life jacket on. or again, if you're visiting like a lake or the ocean for the first time, it's definitely good to have that insurance. You know, you have the life jacket on. And usually they come in bright colors, so they're easy to see if they're swimming off.
Yeah, one thing that I really liked about the life jacket that we used for Moxie is that they have the handles on the top, so you can help pull them out if you want to bring them to the shore, or in Greg's case, in the kayak when she would leap out and he'd have to haul her back in.
That handle was endlessly useful for that, since she loved to leap out, paddle over, or swim over to your kayak.
Yeah.
You'd be like, no, go to Papa Bear, and then she'd come back to mine and try and collapse me,
Capsize you?
capsize me, heaving
Dad,
herself
help.
back in.
Exactly.
But yeah, it strikes me as also a good way to consider training the dog is because the life vest probably isn't like keeping them up 100%. I don't think that was entirely our experience with Moxie, but it's certainly making that sort of sensation of sinking a lot less.
Yeah.
And allowing them
And I think that must help them swim straight, because you do see some dogs when they first learn, they're like flailing. It's like they're trying to climb out of the water instead of swimming through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's also why it's kind of important to like teach them that there's an exit, so that they, don't panic when they're in the water and they're like freaking out. Then it's kind of like they'll know I can get out of this situation if I need to.
Well, I think this topic is one we are going to be returning to in coming episodes and
water
post-game
activities.
shows.
Yes.
Yes, because
we do have a few.
SUP is coming, stand-up paddleboard, and
dock diving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
huge.
Yes.
I'm excited for that one.
No, you moved it too much.
Too much.
But yeah, cool. Well, thank you so much, Lane, for taking the time and answering these questions. We do have a few additional questions from people who have watched episode 1, so we're going to be sharing those with you in our next post-game show so that we can get those ones answered. And if anybody has any questions for episode 2 and 3, make sure you put them down in the comments and we'll get those answered. Thanks, guys, and we will see you next time.